Then the adults dancing disbanded, the drummer quit, and I started playing in two cover bands. One was a Slipknot cover band, and the other one a Joy Division cover band. One of the guys that played percussions in the Slipknot cover band also was very into post-punk, so we started playing Joy Division covers. Very cool. I believe we played twice with both the Joy Division cover band and the Slipknot one. It was fun. Even if a tad depressing. You know, you can play covers for only so long without writing your own music. You know, always living in the shadow of somebody else's. It can be quite depressing, and in the case of Joy Division, particularly depressing. Ha! Adriano Goldmund. My real surname is Gatabuya. Goldmund is taken from one of the two lead characters from Herman Hesse's book Narcissus and Goldmund. Around the time I had bought my first laptop, an i3 with 1 GB of RAM, using virtual instruments became possible for me, so I could have basically done everything by myself. Both cover bands disbanded after about 1 year. Then I tried getting into another one, and basically told them that I would have come in as a singer at the time. I used to play guitar in the Slipknot and the Joy Division cover band. But in the next band, I remember telling them explicitly that I wouldn't have wasted time waiting for them to learn to play their instruments, because that's basically a thing they should have done back at home. No, we have jobs, so I don't give a shit. Study the goddamn thing. You know, they were hobbyists. Nothing wrong with that, but I wasn't. So I basically told them that I would have come to the last rehearsal before the live concert. They believed that it was absurd, but I didn't want to spend 6 months to wait for them to learn the cover songs when I was ready at the very first rehearsal. So they kept playing for more than 3 months. It was about 5. Then they played live once, then disbanded. So my gut feeling was right. And that's when I stopped playing covers for good. I had that little box of time, 2 or 3 years when I did that, but it's fun. It's really fun, but if you keep doing that for more than 1 year, it keeps, at least from my perspective, it becomes very uninspiring. Especially if you're a creative kind of guy, it's very uninspiring. I thought that if I played in 3 bands, I could have made a living out of it, but things moved too slowly and it made me anxious about my future. Then I learned 18 songs. About 18 songs. It was grunge, Nirvana, Soundgarden, and whatnot, Pearl Jam, Screaming Trees. But then I had a couple of years of singing lessons, so I was ready to tackle that. The shirt that I was wearing was a gift from a friend that had recently passed away. His name was Davide. I was convinced I would have become a rock star one day. It certainly made me feel like one when we hang out together. We had lots of fun together when other friends at the time started talking about politics and football. You're 24, not 50. Boring people. The shirt was my tribute to him. I felt this was a worthwhile detail to mention. But the live thing by myself really didn't work out. I had to firstly unplug all instruments at my home that I used to use when recording or improvising music, then move them to the gig venue, then unload them, then connect them, then do something of a sound check, then bear the responsibility of playing live, and then once it's over, unplug everything, unload, reload, bring them back home, and replug them for $50, which really hadn't much sense. Ironically, if it had been my music, it would have made more sense, because it would have had another kind of meaning. I mean, grunge has been dead for 20 years or so. It was just something I wanted to test out, and I wanted to move quickly, when actually moving too fast actually stripped me of a possible creative vision that would have helped me propel the project forwards. So maybe I didn't believe in myself enough. I don't know what was the reason. Maybe I was anxious about money, fundamentally. That was probably the problem. I shouldn't have. There was a mistake on my part. I had played in a nursery, I believe it's called. It was a company of a man that had lots of Mary Jane behind the where he lived and worked. The audience was about 20 people, basically a test drive gig. But then I started studying computer science. One of the adults offered me to play at a bigger party the next week, which I refused for some reason. Maybe it was really too much effort and I just didn't want to do that. Too much work. So I started studying computer science. I could have worked on the side as a freelancer and play live, maybe paying someone to unload the instruments for me, I thought. I am now more comfortable about my abilities to make a living as a developer or Udemy instructor. Even if sometimes I feel a little guilty about the amount of music I could have written from 2016 to 2020. But then again, if I never became a Udemy instructor, I probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now, as I've always been very introverted. There was something of mine that I had recorded back then, but since I was not living here, but in Urbino, where my university was, I couldn't sing, so there were some vocals that I had recorded that they weren't that good, because I basically recorded them back at the home of my booty caller friend, my friend with benefits that I had at the time. But many tracks were recorded. They were basically instrumental tracks.